Hi, my name is Kaeyi and this is this week's HardwareHeaven video roundup. We've got some awesome PC gaming news as well as a Borderlands 2 review and an Apple iPhone 5 review. So let's jump straight into this week's news. ArenaNet's president Mike O'Brien has announced that they will be enabling Google authentication for Guild Wars 2. Now recently, before they looked into this, they had the email authentication system as well as a blackmailing of certain passwords that hackers were regularly scanning to try and hack people's accounts. Now before they had this in process, it was a 1.5% of previous accounts were being hacked, and now it's 0.1% of accounts that have been made after these processes have been put in place. So fingers crossed, with this email authentication as well as a blacklisting of regular scanned passwords and the Google authentication, we should be pretty safe in the future with our Guild Wars 2 accounts. Now if we go back to the first episode of the HardwareHeaven videos that we did actually cover a review of Sleeping Dogs. Now Square Enix have announced that they will be bringing 4 DLC expansion packs for the game throughout the month of October. Now there is a teaser trailer that I'm going to show you now, but this does cover things like racing as well as some cop missions, and there's also a story driven pack available as well, but there is very limited information on that until they actually have a panel on the 14th of October. So let's cut right to the trailer.
What do you know about the underground racing circuit?
Well, they drive fast, occasionally they crash into something.
And occasionally they end up killing each other.
Blizzard are finally catching up with their social features. Much like Guild Wars 2 features with the friends list, Blizzard are now bringing an appear offline feature for all of the players throughout the Blizzard universe. Now it is said that the World of Warcraft's appear offline feature will launch just after Mist of Pandaria. This will enable you to hide your online status to all of your Battle.net friends, all of your friends list, character level friends across all games. So this should be interesting if you're willing to just log on. You don't want to be harassed by any of your friends that stalk you, you know, just me, not sure. But you'll be able to hide your status so that you can just play in peace if you wish to. Finally, Funcom have announced a trial for The Secret World. Now, if you're like me, you thought the game was interesting, but you were awaiting some other games to be launched and didn't want to spend money on something you weren't too sure about, you can definitely try this out. Now, the way Funcom are actually doing this trial is rewarding players who actually want to play the game. The trial starts for 3 days. Now, if you complete 30 missions during that period, your game time will actually be extended to 5 days and you'll receive 1,200 points to spend on the in-game cash store. Now, if you complete the Polaris dungeon, you will also receive an in-game ring for free. This really tells me that they really want to focus on giving a trial to people who want to play the game. This is kind of like a teaser to see how you like it, not just something that you can play for a week and then get rid of. They really want to reel people in and get them into their game. So thumbs up Funcom, I really like this idea. Let's move on to this week's game review now. Borderlands 2 came out on Friday for European players. Now, Borderlands 2 is a loot and shoot RPG FPS game created by Gearbox. Now, I must say before I go into this that I didn't actually have the opportunity to play Borderlands 1 before 2, so I hopped straight in not knowing anything about the series or in fact the game at all. So, to bring you a little bit of background to the game, there is quite a heavy story in Borderlands 2, which there wasn't in Borderlands 1. Now, the reason they did this was people did complain that it was very much just a loot and shoot as stated, and there was no really RPG story-driven element to this. This has changed dramatically in Borderlands 2.
What ho, prospective Vault Hunters! Sir Hammerlock. At your service. I hear you're considering an excursion to the Borderlands. Well, let me be the first to warn you that Pandora has changed. This world is not what it once was. You may have memories of sand and dirt, and occasional rock. But now, there are all sorts of new places to discover. The glossy, fascist beauty of the City of Opportunity, the dangerous lushness of the Highlands, the dangerous and, to be quite honest, rather pungent caustic caverns. You think you know the Borderlands? You've seen nothing yet.
There is a heavy story. Without even playing the first game, I already know what's going on. Within the first hour, you already feel for the NPCs that you're playing with, and that is something that I never have in games. I never really have that emotional connection with characters that I feel I should have, but I don't quite get there, and Borderlands 2 throws you straight in there. You know about the characters without showing you too many cutscenes, because really, there isn't that many. But through quests and voice acting and things that happened around you, you really do get a feel for the story, the characters, and why you were there. Now, there are 4 different classes that you can play in Borderlands 2. There's the Siren, the Assassin, the Gunzerker, and the Commando. Now, the 4 characters that you actually play in Borderlands 2 are different to the ones that you play in Borderlands 1. However, the characters you play in Borderlands 1 aren't lost forever. They actually become the main kind of NPC characters in Borderlands 2. So if you thought Lilith was a badass, which I do, and I've only just met her in game, then you'll definitely love seeing them in Borderlands 2. Now, the key kind of features are the co-op, definitely. The co-op and single player are seamless. There's no difference in the quests that you do. There's no different things that you can experience in co-op. It's completely seamless, much like you would find in games such as Diablo 3. Now, you can just hot joinable, so you'll be playing, your friends can just join you, you'll accept an invite, they'll come into your party, the mobs you fight will become stronger because they are there, but you won't actually have a different experience than if you were playing solo. One thing that you do actually do in co-op is you share guns. Now, more loot actually drops when you're playing co-op, but you share guns, so be careful if you are playing with people. Don't just loot everything that drops on the ground. Ammo and health and things like that are shared, and money and Iridium, which is the actual currency that you use to buy special class mods and things like that. However, guns are not shared, so you'll want to be on some sort of voice server, I would recommend, or even just be able to type in chat and say, hey, do you want this gun? If not, I'll take it. Cool. The best thing to do is actually play with other people who are playing a different character than yourself. Ideally, you would have a party of 4 and you'd have one of each of the classes so that you can actually share the weapons evenly between you. I am actually playing in a party of 3 or 4 depending on what time of day I'm playing. There are actually 2 Sirens. I'm one of them and we have another one. However, we both do different things. I play kind of the elemental Siren, and my friend, he plays a healer Siren, so we do take different weapons, so that's not a problem at all. But if you have a bit of a variety, then it means that you'll get more weapons overall. I really enjoy the fact that you can just hop straight into other people's storylines. No matter how much you've done, you can hop in and you won't lose out. You can always go back to your single player at any time, or you can just continue to play through the story like you would with other people. Now, another thing that I've heard was very lacking in Borderlands 1 and that people did complain about was the customization of your characters. Now, Borderlands 2, I'm not gonna lie, it doesn't have a Saints Row 3, TF2, Grand Theft Auto style customization where you can literally go nuts. It has a very limited customization, however, it's just right. You don't need to do any more because you're playing a character which is an already predefined person with a story. If you customize them to the point where they didn't even look anything like themselves, I think that would ruin the RPG element of the game. However, you can change the skins for the head of your character, which will change their face, makeup or design, as well as their hairstyle, depending on what character you play. If you play Zero, you just kind of get a different robotic style face. You can also change the skin of the clothing that you are wearing, which completely changes the colour and tone and kind of just overall feel of the clothing. However, the actual items of clothing you're wearing will stay the same. There is also a lot more customization for the vehicles that you have in Borderlands 2. In Borderlands 1, you could only have a vehicle that fit 2 people in it, and there was only one type. In Borderlands 2, so far I've come across 2 types of vehicles, one of those for 2 people and one of those for 4 people. You can also change the colour of your car, which is awesome because if you have a 4-person car and a 2-person car, you can have different colours so it's easily recognisable. Even though the shapes are different, it's just really easy to see. And if you're playing with different people, it's kind of funny just to have your own car. I don't know why, but whenever I played with my friends, I had a bright pink car because I just thought it was really cheesy, and they would have like a green camouflage car, and I always knew which one was mine, so I really enjoyed that. And I just think it's a little touch that makes it just have that personal feel to it as well. As well as the main storyline in Borderlands 2, there are a ton of side quests which will have you laughing. The humour in Borderlands 2 is not for the faint-hearted. It's quite dark. It references to a lot of cultural and memes. It has a very internet humour feel to it. There are things such as, I used to be a Vault Hunter like you until I took a bullet to the knee. There are various signs around the game which could be quite offensive if you are faint-hearted. There's jokes and kind of sly references to things that you just have to experience in game. I'm not going to ruin it for you. Just when you're playing, take a look around, look at the walls, look at all the posters you see, listen to what the NPCs are saying, and I guarantee that you'll have a great time and it will immerse you so much into the game. I'm just playing and I can hear robots talking to me, NPCs talking to me, enemies saying things, screaming. When you shoot them, all the enemies react differently, and overall it's just really immersive, and it's probably the first game, this is a big thing, the first game that I've ever felt has a true RPG element to it, and I really enjoy it. It's really good fun. As we know, the Borderlands series has an open world feel to it. Now, Borderlands 2 is actually 2 to 3 times the size of Borderlands 1. So if you felt that Borderlands 1 was quite small, you completed it really fast, Borderlands 2 is 2 to 3 times the size of that. The scenery for the game is also a lot more colourful. I've heard that before it was just this very brown, eerie, horrible feel to it. This time you go into different areas, you go from snow to desert to towns. You really do get that vibrant game feel. With the graphics of Borderlands 2 being very comic book style, it is great to see more colour, more vibrancy in the game that really gives you something aesthetically pleasing to the eye. Guns in Borderlands 2 is just, I think they said there's like 83,000 different types of guns you can get in this game. It's great because every single kind of character can wield every type of gun. So if you are a person who likes shooting a sniper rifle, it's absolutely fine. If you're a person who likes shooting an automatic machine gun, absolutely fine. The guns all have different stats, it's randomly generated. The guns have different looks, aesthetic-wise. They do different things, such as elemental damage, and just depending on what of the characters you play, you have different skill sets, you have a skill tree as well, much like you would find in an MMO sort of game. So you can spec your character to be how you want. Each of the characters has 3 different trees, so there is a massive variety of how you can decide to play your character. They are also looking at bringing a new character into Borderlands 2 as well in the near future. This game has endless possibilities, And I must say, if I'm going to be completely honest, Diablo 3 had me playing for about a week and then I was bored. Borderlands 2, I've been playing for 8 hours now and I do not want to get off it. The only reason I stopped playing is because I ran out of space on my hard drive when I was filming footage and I was like, but I want to film it all! So YouTuber problems. But that's why I stopped playing, so I can honestly say this is a really fun game. I don't play FPS myself, so if you are an FPS noob, if you're not really into this style of game, I definitely would recommend trying it out. Also, if it's a money issue, Amazon are actually selling it at 10% off. I know it's a small amount, but it has only just been released, so that's a little extra bonus as well. So I rate it a big thumbs up, and there's nothing really I can fault with this game, unfortunately. I will let you guys know in the near future, in a near segment, if there are any other updates to the game or if there's something that I come across that I do find a bit iffy, but as of yet, 8 hours of gameplay and I still can't fault anything about it. Okay, so now we move on to the review section of our video, and as promised, we have got the iPhone 5 with us today. Now, luckily I had the opportunity to get the iPhone 5 and I upgraded and received it bang on Friday because I pre-ordered it, so I've managed to have about 4 full days of playing around with it, so that's the most experience I've had to date. So, as with most Apple products, you'll receive the phone, which is pretty obvious. You'll also get the typical documentation that you'll get with Apple. You'll get the SIM card, PIN, and you'll get some paperwork, a quick start guide, and information about the phone, as well as some stickers. We've got the cable here as well, the new Apple AirPod earphones, and a plug that you'll put the cable into to charge the phone. So this is the white version of the iPhone 5, and you can see at the front we have the fingerprint resistant display, and around the side is the aluminium edge, and it's got the crystalline cut around the edges as well. The iPhone 5 has a 4-inch multi-touch screen which uses Apple's Retina technology with integrated touch technology. It has a 1136 x 640 resolution with 800:1 contrast ratio. The handset as a whole weighs at 112 grams. You can see here we have the speaker and the sensor with the 1.2 megapixel front camera, and you can see on the back we have the microphone as well as the 8 megapixel back camera. The iPhone 5 is capable of recording 1080p HD videos at 30 frames per second, which is great. At the bottom of the phone, we can actually see the headphone jack, which previously was at the top of the phone. We have a mic, a lightning connector port, and a speaker. Now at the top of the phone, we have the on-off button. On the left side, we have the volume control buttons, as well as the mute ring silent switch. And on the right side, as previously, we just have the SIM card holder here, and this particular phone holds a nano SIM. As with all iPhones, there is no replaceable battery, and it is not designed to be opened. The setup of the phone is actually identical to the iPhone 4S, provided they're on the same operating system. It's simple, easy, literally takes a couple of seconds. The most important parts are things like setting up your Apple ID, as well as your Wi-Fi, whether you want Siri to work, if you want various things on the iPhone to work, and it's literally just click next and continue through the setup wizard. With the recent release of iOS 6, the Apple iPhone does come pre-delivered with this new operating system, so you won't have to do any updates. The key features for iOS 6 are the new Maps application, which looks to replace the Google option found in previous operating systems. There are some Siri enhancements. Siri can now give us some more information, such as sports scores, film information, and also has an enhanced language support. The map actually gives us a 3D mode. To give a demonstration of Siri's enhancements, we can go into Siri now. Siri, what are the latest football scores?
Here are the scores from Premier League last Sunday.
So, Siri brings up the list of the scores from last Sunday. We can check to see what the relevant teams we would like to see. As another example, Siri, what is the weather like in Southampton tomorrow?
You'll need an umbrella for Southampton, England tomorrow.
There we go. We can see instantly the weather forecast for tomorrow. Siri's advised us with his outstanding humour, I must say, that we will need umbrella. Now, the improvements to Siri are obvious. It's a lot faster, it's a lot cleaner, the information that we can be provided is a lot more interesting and in-depth than it has been previously. In regards to the camera options with the iPhone 5, there's not that much customization that you can actually do on the camera. With great quality, there is a toggleable flash, you can reverse the camera, you guys can see yourselves. But apart from that, there's not much that you can do. And when going into video recording, there is in fact even less. But again, you can flip between the front and the back cameras. The quality is great, especially if you're outside. The crispness of the photos are really good. I use this camera on the phone to actually record my daily vlogs and I thoroughly enjoy it. It's great. The app for YouTube makes it easy to upload any videos that I record, and personally I think it does what it says on the tin. The camera is great. It's not going to be as great as your next high quality Canon DSLR. That's not what we expect from a phone. I think it's great for what it is. The apps that you can simply get now, the faster, the speed. When you're using Safari, it's a lot quicker. Things load faster than they did before. And overall, I'm really happy that this is my phone of choice and I would highly recommend it. Upgrading from the 4S to the 5, something I'm not too sure about. Not entirely sure if it's worth it. However, I personally went from a BlackBerry to the iPhone 5 and I have never been happier. It's a great phone. The length fits perfectly in my hand. The only problem I have is when I'm holding it with one hand, I can't quite reach the top corner if I'm trying to access the back or cancel menu that is normally situated on the top left hand corner of the phone. But apart from that, I think it is a great quality phone and personally I'm happy to have this for the next 2 years. Thanks for watching this week's video, guys, and I will see you next week with more news, reviews, and hopefully some new games to show and love with you guys. Bye!